everybody, it's Vertical Sandwich. Welcome back to Book Reviews. So, today we're doing the most, in my opinion, for me, the most interesting title on the list of Hugo Award winners, and that is this. Right here, this is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. I looked up a video of her talking about her name, Rowling, not Rowling, apparently. I don't care either way. She apparently doesn't care much either way either, but, so yeah, Rowling. So J.K. Rowling. Somebody who in the giant, tradition of women using, initials as authors. Not a thing you see with a lot of guys, but, yeah. And N.K. Jemisin, C.J. Cherry. Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah. So, now the reason is this one in 2001, I believe. 2001. And in 2001, I was 21. I turned 22. And so this is children's literature. So if you were a parent, you probably read it. If you were a child, you probably read it. And I was neither, so I didn't read it. So I didn't see the movies. And then I forgot about it. And then I opened the list of Hugo Award winners and went, oh, I have to read a Harry Potter book. I wonder which one. And then went, oh, it's the fourth. Like the fourth one in the series. So I found some people at work who were really big Harry Potter fans, because there's a lot of really big Harry Potter fans. And I talked to them about it, and I said, what am I supposed to do? And they were like, well, read all the books. And I went, I don't want to read all the books. I want to read the Hugo Award winner. I'm reading Hugo Award winners. I have other Hugo Award winners waiting. And what we decided was that I would watch the movies and read plot synopses for the first 3 books, and then I would read the 4th book. It doesn't matter. This book is actually really good at recapping what's happened in the previous books, which must make the last book a nightmare. You have to, and in case you're not familiar with the series, here's the way it works. Harry Potter is a magical boy. He goes to a magical school. When he's not in magical school, he lives with relatives. So, every book is a year. This is year 4. This is his 4th year at Hogwarts Academy of Magic. The first book is his first year. They work really well. He goes to, he leaves his relative's house, he goes to school. School year ends, book ends. Next book starts, he's at his relative's house. He goes to school. School year ends, book ends. That's the way it goes. It works out really well. Now let's say some stuff. So this is children's literature. It's children's literature that missed me. So I kind of was in the position where I'm like, man, I'm a middle-aged man now. How am I going to feel about this stuff? And here's the thing. This is what I will tell you about Harry Potter and the Harry Potter series. I started watching the movies and I liked them so much that I watched all 8 of them. I read this book and then I bought the entire set of them for my niece's 10-year-old daughter for her birthday. So, I don't hate these. I mean, they're not a thing. I'm not going to sit down and read the whole Harry Potter series. It's not, but you could. If you haven't read them, they're not worth it. They're okay. They're fun. They're super quick. This is an almost 800-page book, and I read it in 2 days. 2 days. I mean, they just fly. Look at the spacing. Look at how, the spacing in this is crazy. It's just there's no words in these pages. Pictures at the front of every chapter. The chapters are small, which always helps. They're just very distinct. Now, I have a few complaints, and I will talk about those. Some complaints about the structure in general, but we'll get to that. And if you're, if you absolutely love Harry Potter and you think it's the greatest thing that's ever been written, and you really just are man, if this guy says anything bad about Harry Potter, I'm leaving a bad comment, go ahead. Because there are some things I have some problems with, right? So, here's the idea. They announce, there's no book jacket. Is there a book jacket thing in here? Oh yeah, you have in your hands the pivotal fourth novel in the 7-part tale of Harry Potter's training as a wizard and his coming of age. Harry wants to get away from the pernicious Dursleys and go to the International Quidditch Cup with Hermione, Ron, and the Weasleys. He wants to dream about Cho Chang, his crush, and maybe do more than dream. He wants to find out about the mysterious event that's supposed to take place at Hogwarts this year, an event involving 2 other rival schools of magic, and a competition that hasn't happened for 100 years. He wants to be a normal 14-year-old wizard. Unfortunately for Harry Potter, he's not normal, even by wizarding standards, and in this case, different can be deadly. Okay, I mean, that's the thing. So they announced this year at Hogwarts they're going to have the Tri-Wizard Champions, which is the 3 schools of magic come together, and they each have a champion, and they go through a series of magical tests, and then out of that there's a winner, and the winner is this Tri-Wizard champion. Tri-Wizard Championship champion? I don't know. Anyway, so, and because the thing is really dangerous, you can't join unless you're 17 or older, which is like the magical age of adulthood or something. But Harry's not that old, and so there's a Goblet of Fire, and it's guarded by a spell, and you can put your name in the Goblet of Fire, but if you're not 17, the spell will keep you from putting your name in. So everybody's put their name in, and they're about to announce who the champions are for every school. And that's the passage we're going to read. They just had dinner, so magical plates are clearing themselves. At long last, the golden plates returned to their original spotless state. There was a sharp upswing in the level of noise within the hall, which died away almost instantly as Dumbledore got to his feet. On either side of him, Professor Karkaroff and Madame Maxime looked as tense and expectant as anyone. Ludo Bagman was beaming and winking at various students. Mr. Crouch, however, looked quite uninterested, almost bored. "Well, the goblet is almost ready to make its decision," said Dumbledore. "I estimate that it requires 1 more minute. Now, when the champions' names are called, I would ask them please to come up to the top of the hall, walk along the staff table, and go through into the next chamber." He indicated the door behind the staff table, where they will be receiving their first instructions. He took out his wand and gave a great sweeping wave with it. At once all the candles except those inside the carved pumpkins were extinguished, plunging them into a state of semi-darkness. The Goblet of Fire now shone more brightly than anything in the whole hall, the sparkling bright bluey whiteness of the flames almost painful on the eyes. Everyone watched, waiting. A few people kept checking their watches. "Any second," Lee Jordan whispered, 2 seats away from Harry. The flames inside the goblet turned suddenly red again. Sparks began to fly from it. Next moment a tongue of flame shot into the air. A charred piece of parchment fluttered out of it. The whole room gasped. Dumbledore caught the piece of parchment and held it at arm's length, so that he could read it by the light of the flames, which had turned back to blue-white. "The champion for Durmstrang," he read in a strong, clear voice, "will be Victor Krum." "No surprises there," yelled Ron as a storm of applause and cheering swept the hall. Harry saw Victor Krum rise from the Slytherin table and slouch up towards Dumbledore. He turned right, walked along the staff table, and disappeared through the door into the next chamber. "Bravo, Victor!" boomed Karkaroff so loudly that everyone could hear him, even over all the applause. "Knew you had it in you!" The clapping and chatting died down. Now everyone's attention was focused again on the goblet, which a second later turned red once more. A second piece of parchment shot out of it, propelled by the flames. "The champion for Beauxbatons," said Dumbledore, "is Fleur Delacour." "It's her, Ron!" Harry shouted as the girl who so resembled Avila got gracefully to her feet, shook back her sheet of silvery blonde hair, and swept up between the Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff tables. "Oh, look, they're all disappointed," Hermione said over the noise, nodding towards the remainder of the Beauxbatons party. Disappointed was a bit of an understatement, Harry thought. 2 of the girls who had not been selected had dissolved into tears and were sobbing with their head on their arms. When Fleur Delacour, too, had vanished into the side chamber, silence fell again, but this time it was a silence so stiff with excitement you could almost taste it. The Hogwarts champion next. When the Goblet of Fire turned red once more, sparks showered out of it. The tongue of flame shot high into the air, and from its tip Dumbledore pulled the third piece of parchment. "The Hogwarts champion," he called, "is Cedric Diggory." "No!" said Ron loudly, but nobody heard him except Harry. The uproar from the next table was too great. Every single Hufflepuff had jumped to his or her feet, screaming and stamping, as Cedric made his way past them, grinning broadly, and headed off towards the chamber behind the teacher's table. Indeed, the applause for Cedric went on for so long that it was some time before Dumbledore could make himself heard again. "Excellent!" Dumbledore called happily as at last the tumult died down. "Well, we now have our 3 champions. I am sure I can count upon all of you, including the remaining students from Beauxbaton and Durmstrang, to give your champions every ounce of support you can muster. By cheering your champion on, you will contribute in a very real—" But Dumbledore suddenly stopped speaking, and it was apparent to everybody what had distracted him. The fire in the goblet had just turned red again. Sparks were flying out of it. A long flame shot suddenly into the air, and borne upon it was another piece of parchment. Automatically, it seemed, Dumbledore reached out a long hand and seized the parchment. He held it out and stared at the name written upon it. There was a long pause, during which Dumbledore stared at the slip in his hands, and everyone in the room stared at Dumbledore. And then Dumbledore cleared his throat and read out, "Harry Potter." Okay. There's only supposed to be 3 champions. Harry Potter's name is somehow selected as a 4th champion for a non-existent school out of a magical goblet, and that means he has to participate. So, Harry Potter books are inherently readable, right? They're inherently readable. They're not bad books. Obviously, I can suggest them to you. I bought them for my niece's daughter. I want her to read. And I don't want her to read, I don't care what she reads as long as she reads. I just want people to read. Go just read. Just read. It's fine. Is there anything inherently wrong with the Harry Potter books? Well, there are some things that bother me about them. And I will tell you this. There's a cycle in Harry Potter books of the rules being broken for Harry Potter. Like, that's what happens. This goblet spits out a 4th name, and instead of them going, well, there can only be 3 names and Harry's under the age limit, clearly he can't participate, they go, nope, he's gotta compete. And you go, wait, what? Like, really, what? There's, in the first book, well, I don't know, in the first movie, the plot synopsis I read, like, there's just famously all this stuff where, like, they lose the house championship, and then they're like, yeah, but all these people did this good stuff, so, like, Gryffindor wins. And if you don't know what, like, Gryffindor and Hugglepuff and all that stuff are, I mean, like, they're houses in Hogwarts. They're, like, houses that they're, like, teams within the school, but, that's only brought up so that Gryffindor can win the House Cup 3 years in a row. There's Quidditch in, like, every book, and it's, like, I don't know why. Like, there's a warrior or a sorcerer of ultimate evil awakened, and there's a Quidditch match, is what you're supposed to care about. That happens, and then, so, like, it's that. At some point during the Triwizards tournament, Harry comes in last and gets moved up to 2nd place because he did the right thing. But that's not how rules work. Like, and that's a thing. That's a thing in Harry Potter books, right? Is because Harry Potter, seemingly loses honorably. Yeah, exceptions are made. And the thing about it is if that's not the rules, that's not the rules. Like, games have rules. Like, they do. And it's a weird thing to be like, don't get me wrong, like, I don't want Harry Potter to act dishonorably. That might be interesting. But that's not what I'm arguing for. What I'm saying is, it's okay for him to lose. It's okay for him to act honorably and lose. There doesn't always have to be this Dumbledore from the machine to come down and be like, yes, but Harry Potter showed the character of a true hero. Therefore, Well, maybe the message should be that showing the character of the true hero is the important thing. Not winning the Triwizard Cup or the house, thing. Maybe Slytherin can win one year and Harry Potter can still be a decent person. That was what struck me in the book series. Was that was a thing that was unwilling. Like the author was unwilling to let that happen. That it all had to be kind of all happy all the time. And I know that the books turn dark, right? I get that. I get that the first 3 books, and then this is the book where it starts getting dark, and like it gets kind of weird 1984 dark in the next book and stuff, which I own, by the way. I mean, I have it. I haven't read it. So that's the thing, is don't expect this book to challenge your convictions or your beliefs or your philosophies. Expect it to be a good story where things work out. Things work out. Harry's not going to die. Hermione's not going to die. Ron's not going to die. I mean, I can't speak for other characters because characters do die. Just not the main ones. Kind of. I don't know. Thanks for reading that vertical series. Hey. If you haven't read these already, what rock have you been living on? Like, I fell in the gap, but unless you're my age, so would I tell you to read these? Well, yeah, I would. I mean, especially I think if you're younger and you're looking for a series that's really entertaining. I mean, like, I would read them. I would. I mean, I really liked the movies. The movies were good. It was interesting to see, 8 years worth of like a cast stuck together. I was like, man, those poor actors. Their whole lives were just this movie series for like their entire childhood. Wow. Yeah, they're not bad. They're not bad. They're incredibly easy to read. They're incredibly popular. It may be a good argument that you almost need to read these to know what people are talking about. But if you don't know, like, I was watching an episode of like a Fox animated cartoon, and somebody said, it was Bob's Burgers, and Gene was like, call me Draco Malfoy because I am Slytherin, and I got the joke, and I never would have if it hadn't been for this. Like, so, I mean, there's that, I guess. Like I said, I'm not going to trash the Harry Potter books. They're not for me by consequence of age. Had I been a 10-year-old when these came out, I would have been all over this. All over it. I would have loved it. I would have read every one right when they came out. Like, they're great that way. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh, should Harry Potter books, should I get them? Like, I bought them for a 10-year-old. Like, I think she'll love them. She was really excited, and her best friend is just, like, super into them. So now she was last she talked to me, she was 60 pages into the first book. And she thinks it's really cool that they get really long. And I was like, yeah, but they don't get really hard. So, like, that's awesome. Yeah, she'll feel an amazing sense of accomplishment when she's read all 7 books. And I know that because I'm 4 books away from reading all 69 books that have won the Hugo Award. And I know how that's going to, I can already feel how that's going to feel for me. Because I do have pride. Like, I am guilty of the sin of pride. I am. So, and you should feel good about the things you accomplish. You should. That's part of being just a normal human being. So yes, I didn't like I said, there are things that are kind of goofy, cliched about some of the plot lines, and some of it's just so kind of having fun and meant for kids. Like, they left this out of the movie. If you watch just the movies, you'll never know about this. But Hermione gets all into house elf rights and tries to start like a society for the equal rights of these like house elves, and the initials for it, like the acronym for it, is SPEW, but she doesn't want anybody to call it SPEW. It's like SPEW, and she makes SPEW badges. And so, like, that's amazing. That's so fun. It's so goofy and fun. And, like, that's the stuff, is that the movie's really serious to this up. But clearly, you can just tell that she thought that the idea was to be fun and goofy for kids. And that's great. That's great. It's children's literature, right? It's children's literature that has a good stroke of seriousness, a good mix of seriousness, and, like, can be dark when it needs to. But then also has, like, people wearing spew badges, and this girl trying to get people to wear these badges that say spew, and nobody will because nobody cares. Like, that's like a plot. It's like a C story, behind A story in this novel. It's nice. I like it. I mean, I found it really entertaining and fun. Like I said, some of the plotline stuff is a little kind of hokey and cliched and like Deus Machina for me, because there really is a lot of everything works out for Harry Potter because he's just Harry Potter. He's just this rich, super magical kid for no reason. And like I get it. He's supposed to be like, what do they call it? Like is it a Pollyann or whatever? Like the Star Trek character where like you're supposed to be able to slide yourself into the character and feel great. And like it does that really well. If you can identify with Harry Potter, you feel really good about yourself. Like, because you know he's rich and he triumphs over adversity every time, and he is the chosen one, and that's awesome. But I mean, you know, like that's what he's supposed to. I think it was Pollyann. Like that there is no, it's Mary Sue. It's Mary Sue. So like yeah, if you don't know what a Mary Sue is, you should check it out. The Mary Sue thing in Star Trek that like killed Wesley Crusher's character. Like, check out what a Mary Sue is. And Harry Potter's not quite that bad. Like he's not quite Mary Sue, but there are definitely some elements to like at the end where there are just some somersaults done so that everything works out all right. And what bothers me about that is that things didn't have to work out all right. The things that the book goes out of its way to make work out fine all the time are things that you don't necessarily have to care about. Again, like winning the House Cup. Like Gryffindor wins 3 years in a row. Yeah, and so what? Voldemort exists. So like Harry Potter's team wins at Quidditch, but Voldemort exists. So like nobody cares. But that's my thing for that. This is a long review, and I get that. But I'm trying to qualify that this is good children's literature. But I just didn't like. I found it enjoyable. But I'm not reading the whole series, and I wouldn't, you know, if what you were doing was going like, I really want something to challenge me at an intellectual, at a philosophical level. No, this is children's literature. It's children's literature. Like, it's good children's literature, it's fine. Like, millions of people were not necessarily wrong. It was thoroughly entertaining. I was entertained. It was entertaining. The ideas and concepts were bizarre. They were super bizarre and fun and lighthearted. And that's what kids' literature needs, is kids can be scared. They can take that, and they need that. And they need kind of some sort of darkness in their fairy tales. Like, early Disney can show us that, right? Like, those characters were not lighthearted. And to this day, Disney villains continue to die in horrible ways. Kids can take that. But they also need spew. And Hermione's buck teeth growing crazy big for her head. Like, need that too. Kids need that. And, you know, J.K. Rowling did really well, creating kind of a fanciful environment for kids to kind of have fun with. And I liked that. I liked it a lot. It's a different book than anything else we've probably read. And it's probably the only book that's going to be like this. Like a fairy tale that isn't serious, that is just meant for children. And in fact, I'm almost certain this is the only one that's going to be like that. So yeah, so as far as that goes, like, I never thought I'd read it. I watched all the movies, I read this book, I liked this book was fine. I bought it for my niece's 10-year-old because I thought that this would be great for kids. And if I were a kid, I would read all of them. But I'm not a kid, so I want to read Hyperion and The Calculating Stars. And to say nothing of the dog. Those are the things I want to read. Darwin's Radio. Which isn't a Hugo Award winner, but I bought it. So yeah, so like I said, I can by surrogate suggest this to people who want to read children's literature. That's fun, because it is that. You know, do I want to read more Harry Potter books? No, it was fine. It was fine. I want kids to read this book. So if you're a kid or you know a kid, tell them to read Harry Potter books. If you're a parent who's looking for something to read to their kids, Harry Potter books. If you're a middle-aged man looking for serious science fiction or fantasy, Not so much. This isn't bad. It's not what you're looking for. So when we come back, I don't know what we'll be doing because that's going to be a while from now. Was the last book I did in this section. So yeah, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. My understanding from Harry Potter fans is this is the best book in the series. It was good. It was good. I liked it. And you can't beat the cover art. It's just super goofy. It's just super goofy. Look at this. It's goofy. Look at how goofy that is. Goofy. That's ridiculous. Because the other two champions behind. No. What are the other two champions? There's 3 champions. Yeah. Oh, all 3 are behind him. Right, because he has to be in front because it's his book. Harry Potter and whatever. So yeah, Harry Potter books. I approve of them. That's about all I can say. They're not my thing, but I approve of them. And if they're your thing, then you should read them because they're your thing. And they're quick reads. They're good. Nice. Like I said, I wouldn't buy it for a 10-year-old if I didn't think she could read them and that she would love them. Or I didn't think she would, love them and that she could read them. And she is reading them, and I bet you she loves them because they were fun. This one was. So when we come back, something else, and I'll see you for that. Put that on the floor. Bye, everybody.